Hi there, it's Bruce Wallace from Dundee and Victoria Chess Club in Bonnie, Scotland. Now, Majnu has posted a video on a game between Don Mason, who had white, and Chris Ward, who has black, in this year's British Championship. Mainly because Majnu is a devotee of the Sicilian dragon variation of the Sicilian defence, and he's been posting a series of videos. And this is a good example of how deadly the Sicilian dragon can be if white plays inaccurately in the opening. And just a point on the British Championship this year, it was won by Jacob Agard. Now, Jacob is originally from Denmark but now lives in Scotland, and he's more or less a Scottish citizen and has just achieved his Grandmaster status because of his outstanding performance in the British Championship this year, where he didn't draw a single game. He lost one, but won the competition outright, and he's in tremendous form at the moment. In the previous 3 years, Jonathan Rowson, another Scottish Grandmaster, has won the British Championship. So for the past 4 years, the British Championship has been won by a Scottish player. We have our own Scottish Championship, so in some senses the British should really be seen as the English competition, just as we also have a Scottish Chess Association, separate from the English one. And there is an English Chess Federation now. It's all to do with politics and nationality. However, I think I'll post a game by Jacob Agard because he had tremendous form during that tournament. But this video on the game between Mason and Ward was covered in the magazine Chess, and Andrew Greet has annotated the game, and there's been a fair bit of response to Majnu's video. One person suggested that after the position with after f takes g6, where white continued queen h2, threatening to come down at some point, hitting h7 with a decisive check, the knight on f6 must be removed in order for that attack to succeed. So one respondent suggested that instead of queen h2, why not bishop g5 immediately, which threatens to remove the knight and therefore taking away the only defender of h7. Unfortunately, this involves the loss of a tempo, and black can continue with his attack with a move like rook b8, and black doesn't have a massive advantage here, but bishop g5 is definitely a better move than queen h2. We have the following line: bishop takes knight, then bishop takes, and now queen h2. Now this appears decisive because there's no defenders of h7, and white is merely threatening to come down here, capturing h7 with check and mate. However, because of the loss of time, white can interpose the move bishop g5 check, and this forces the king to move. White can't interpose with f4 here because it's bishop takes f4, picking up the queen, so that move can't be played. After bishop g5, white's king must move to b1 because there's no way to block the check, and then rook f7. Now this replaces the knight as the main defender of the square h7, and black is now completely safe, and in fact has a fairly big advantage. One continuation here being recommended is knight d5, e6, f4, and then pawn takes, and then pawn takes bishop, and it's a very big advantage to black here. Continuation going pawn takes, and then recommended is knight e2. So big advantage to black here, a pawn up at the moment. So bishop g5 after, instead of queen h2, doesn't work. White did play queen h2 and then queen a5, and then we'll just go through the moves here. Knight f4, bishop f7, a6, a3. Now all of this is being analysed by Majnu. Rook b8, knight f to d5, bishop takes, knight takes, and now rook takes b2. And white can't take the rook. It's been analysed by Majnu explaining why. White continue, knight takes f6, rook takes f6, queen takes h7 check, king f8, and then bishop h6. Now bishop h6 is the decisive mistake, because here white can actually take the rook. King takes b2, then rook f7 check, bishop d4, bishop takes, then rook takes. Now this leaves white's queen en prise to the rook. However, if black takes, white has two rooks against the queen, and it's not so clear cut. In fact, this position is almost equal. So what is recommended here is in fact a queen b6 check, king c3, and we'll just go through the variations here because it's quite enlightening. Rook takes f3 check, rook d3 giving back the rook, c takes d, but it's not with check, king h8 check, king f7, rook h7 check, king e6, then queen c8 check, now forcing the king to move. King goes to e5, for example, in this line. It's rook takes e7 check, king f4, rook f7 check, king g3, rook takes f3, king takes, and c takes d, and then the black queen can begin checking, and it's likely that this queen b5 check will end in a draw. King b2, white is a pawn up, but white's king is more vulnerable to checks, so Schroeder in fact has this as absolutely equal. So after king f8, the decisive mistake was bishop h6, and the game continued. Queen c3, bishop takes check, king e8, queen g8, king d7, and now here white played rook d2, black played rook a2, and this is decisive now because it's threatening mate with rook a1. So after king d1, it's basically rook a1 check, king goes here, queen takes f3, and it's mate. So white resigned after the move rook a2. However, the mistake by white here was playing rook d2 to ward off the immediate mate by black on c2. Greet, in his annotations here, said that white can actually survive this with the move, instead of rook d2, with the move rook takes d6, sacrificing the exchange. Now you have e takes d6, queen f7 check, giving up the queen here for a check, and rook takes, and then bishop takes c3. And although black has an advantage here, white can still hold on and get some counterplay, and things can go wrong. So it just shows how complex chess games can be, and looking over games after they've taken place shows that white did in fact have chances here. The decisive mistake was bishop h6. Instead of bishop h6 as recommended, the best move was king takes b2 with an almost equal position. So in his attempts to mate the black king, white overextended here and allowed black to come in with a very effective attack, which was decisive, although black could have held on. So very interesting video, I think. I hope this answers some of the points raised in Majnu's video. I'm going to make a video now of a game by Jacob Agar, just to show the excellence of his play in winning the British Championship. See you soon.